In this video, I'd like to discuss composition signs. The composition sign product takes all the other processes in this consideration within one product. So if we're looking at that in control, under a new estimate, under our list of products, you'll see composition sign. If we open that product, the first thing it wants to know is the quantity being ordered overall of the total finished products, whether it's ADA compliant, the height and width of the final product, and what we're going to define this product as. It could be anything typed in. You can create your own list for your most common definitions. Below that, you'll see a help menu that describes what we're doing in a composition sign, our different surfaces, faceplates, backplates, etc. To begin, what you're going to want to do is create a new surface. So we'll go in, create a new surface. When we create a new surface, the first thing it's going to want to come up to is what we want to call that surface and what that surface is used for. In this case, we're going to only use one of each of the quantity above. So if I had 5 up at the top, it is assuming 1 each of 5. So we're going to do 5 backplates. And what is it? Is it a flat stock print? Are we doing more a dimensional sign, roll stock, photopolymer? And this list of types can be created as well in the system, so you can have your own, and they all define what processes are available. So if we look at the flat stock print, you'll notice that a number of tabs at the bottom appear. These are the different functions we say apply to a flat stock print. From this case, it's going to know the material type. We can choose coroplast and what we're doing with it. And then if we're going to print directly to it, we would click on the print button. You'll notice the setup appears as checked, meaning it is applying the setup time. If you're doing multiple surfaces and you're going to group them together, you may wish to remove the setups on certain items. Next is the printer that it's being printed to and the resolution. And if application tape is being applied. We could then, of course, go into Laminate and apply a laminate if we'd like. What kind of laminate? And the particular laminate type. If we wanted to add a cut vinyl material to this particular coroplast, we could do that from here as well by clicking on cut vinyl, the types, the colors, and the plotters and complexities. But what we're going to want to do next is cut this out. So I'm going to go to cutting, and I'm going to cut it out on the iCut, and it's a fairly standard complexity. Any finishing items, or if we wanted to screen print it. And we'll get into these two a little bit later. Next thing, if we go to New Surface again, you'll notice it adds a second surface to the list. This first one was my faceplate, or my backplate. So I'm now doing a faceplate, and that faceplate's going to be out of photopolymer. In the photopolymer list, you have your interior, exterior, and then the type of photopolymer that you're using. If we're going to process it, and what processor. Any windows that may be added, this is predominantly information that for the work orders they know to be space for windows, and text and image description, any more detail you'd like. After the photopolymer is done, we may want to go to hot stamping if you have this process, and we can then choose the machine we use and the foils, types, and colors. Now, if we weren't going to use any of the foils, we could screen print these to tip them. And in that case, what we'd be doing is going to the screen printing tab. And I'm going to screen print it. Now, you can have multiple presses for what you're setting up. In this case, since it's just tipping, I'm just going to do it manually. and I'm going to use a manual tipping screen. And then any type of ink and colors. If more colors are required, just click on More Colors, or if you already have an existing screen, or if it's a PMS color match, you can check those off as well. Let's say the next thing after we have our surfaces is we need to put some text on top of it. And in this case, we're going to route out some letters. Now, you'll notice my height and width I haven't changed for the other two because I associated those to each going to be the same size as the overall size of the product. But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm going to put 5 letters across the top. So therefore, I'm going to have a quantity of 5. My letter height, which we'll say is 2 by 1.5, maybe. We're going to consider this applied text. What we're going to make it out of, we're going to use a dimensional material in this case. And I think I'll do this one just out of some acrylic letters. And what type of acrylic? The usage is whether it's a full sheet, such as you're going to utilize up to the entire sheet of this material, half sheet, quarter sheet, or area only, defines that you want to go by just the specific area, and you're going to add a scrap factor. In this case, they're small letters. I'm going to say it's a high scrap factor. Now, I'm not going to be engraving these. I'm actually going to be cutting them out. So I'll go to my cutting, and I'm going to cut these on the Gerber. And these have a high complexity since there's some pretty complex lettering. What you notice now is I've set up a system with my surface, one being my back plate, my face plate, and my letters. You can continue to add as many surfaces as are required to finish the project. Up at the top, it'll show you your combined square inch price, cost, and price. You do have the ability to overwrite them at this point, but remember, once the square inch price has been overridden, it is stagnant, and any other surfaces you add will not change it. But I could go in and say, I want to charge, in this case, $3 a square inch, and it will overwrite the price to that $3. It now ignores the individual surfaces and is just charging $3. You can always go back to the original by unchecking that box. I can also control a margin. Right now it says I have a 73% margin between my cost and my price. I can go in and overwrite that manually as well by checking the box, and we'll say in this case I want an 85% margin. Now in this case, things that I add will add to the price, but it is fixing it at 85% margin on any additional adds, any additional things. Okay, once we have these the surfaces in the system, we may want to add some additional assembly. At this point, we can just say I need a half hour of, and describe what the assembly is, maybe letter assembly. Or you can choose specific labors that are already in the system. Or I could say it takes a half hour. And this will give you a list of all the labors that are currently available in the system. So let's just say I wanted to add an extra half hour of paint labor. You can also choose any miscellaneous items that you wish to add. Modifiers or add-ons, and then hardware. This would be your display hardware, such as frames, Velcro, trim caps, etc. You also, on the right side, you'll see a tab the top for parts. This is going to detail out the parts that were used within my different surfaces. So in this case, on the main composition, I added some assembly and some paint labor. And then my surface 1, this is all the information or all the parts that are being pulled for that particular surface. This view allows you to see the parts as they're being added. You can also see a larger screen on the Parts tab at the bottom. And this will lay out all of the parts that were pulled within this item, and you can either look at all of them or one particular surface at a time. This concludes the composition sign within an estimate. For further information, please review our other videos or contact Serious Technical Support. Thank you.